Why would anyone buy from you if deciding feels like the hardest, most exhausting thing that they're gonna do all year? Because here's the mistake that most experts make running their marketing and sales like it's this race to the pitch. But when your prospects are already confused, overwhelmed, or they're not even ready to buy, every tweak you make actually pushes them further away. The more you push, the slower people actually move, sometimes just stalling out completely. The real secret, it's not marketing harder or handling objections, it's flipping the decision process so your prospects sell themselves. That's the difference between chasing every lead for sporadic sales months and having clients line up to your programs $100,000 plus months and becoming the expert that prospects actually chase down. So let's get real. Now, hey, and welcome back to the Business Real Talk, the show where we cut the BS, show you how to actually get clients lining up without chasing, begging, or selling your soul. So in the last episode, we unpacked what I call instant recognition, why being an expert alone with accolades and years of experience just isn't enough to get people to instantly see you as the credible expert they pay and love. And I showed you the simple system that makes you instantly recognized as the go-to expert and industry leader in under 6 months. So if you missed it, go binge that one first or cue it up next, because today we're going to take it one step deeper. The real tea that you need to understand is that top experts aren't out there pitching harder or hustling more. Nope. They're flipping the entire game. They mirror the decision process so prospects do the selling for them. And by the time we're done here today, you're going to see exactly how to set up your marketing and your sales process so clients move forward like it's the easiest choice in the world and you barely have to lift a finger. Here's the deal. What you really want is clients who see your value, who get it, who hit you up ready to work with you, where your messages are now filled with ready to buy leads asking, how do I get started, or how can I get on your wait list? And you want sales calls that kind of feel like a formality, right? Where your prospects are already pre-sold and it's just an opportunity for you to make sure that you want to work with them. And you want marketing that isn't louder or flashier or perfected, right? Just marketing that actually works. So the buyers read it, they think to themselves, where have you been my whole life, without spending months or years in your world in order to realize that. Now, what's happening is probably a little something more like this. Your ads and your team are booking your calendar full of calls, but your no-shows are ridiculous. And the people who do show up need a 2-year-long payment plan or multiple calls just to be convinced. And you're juggling a dozen strategies that leave you feeling like you're running a circus and not a business. And you have had to get more creative with your offers, your ads, everything, just to try and get people to actually commit. Meanwhile, you've got a roster full of happy clients, a team who adores you, and a method that's so cutting edge, it's blowing people's minds when they actually hear about it. Make it make sense to me. Listen, I'll be the first one to tell you that it's not your talent, skills, or credibility. You've got all that. And it's not your programs. Your results obviously speak for themselves. And it's actually not even your marketing per se or the quantity of it, even though that ad agency is going to tell you otherwise. The problem is everything you're doing is making it harder for people to buy instead of easier. It's a fundamental mistake that slows down every decision, every sale, and every campaign. I know. How is that even possible when you're doing everything right? Now, the good news is I'm going to show you how to fix this. And when you see it, you're not going to be able to unsee it. You might even say, what the hell, Nas? Why is this not the standard for marketing and sales? But I digress. So let me explain. Right now, the way that you're told to fix this problem is starting with better marketing, right? You know, all the glitz, the glamour, the $1 million marketing campaigns, professional photo shoots, thousands of ads creatives, huge events with thousands of people in the room, anything that gets all eyes on you and your company. The thinking is the more perfect it looks, the more buyers are going to show up ready to work with you. Except that all that polish doesn't actually help. The more perfect it looks, the more pressure it creates. And the slower people end up moving, because you can't put lipstick on a pig and pretend like people will forget that it's missing the things that actually make them say, oh, hell yes, let's do this. Now, the second way you're told to solve this is the sales gurus who tell you that you just need to perfect your pitch. You know, rehearsing every line, handling every objection, creating a pitch so flawless, you actually forget about the client and what they actually need. I mean, when did it become this race to the pitch where there's this ticking shot clock pushing you to go, go, go? Every ad, every email, every call is this sprint to convince someone to say yes. And only if you're doing it right do they actually close fast. And if your buyers are feeling pushed, pressured, or rushed, let's be honest, they're not gonna move faster. They're just gonna run away faster. Think about it in real life. It's like trying to get someone to pick the fastest checkout line at the grocery store while they're juggling a screaming toddler, a phone call, and three carts full of groceries. You're shouting, this line is faster, isn't gonna make them actually move any faster. It just stresses everyone out and probably makes them take a step back. Let's not forget this next tactic of sending endless follow ups, offering special deals or bonuses, trying to get them to cross the line. Now, imagine that you were inside of your favorite store, let's say Sephora for me, and someone followed you around like a lost puppy, constantly telling you about their specials, dropping their prices every time you walked away from the skincare section. And you're like, chill, Sheila, back off. I can't even think straight. You're eyeing the fastest way to the exit because newsflash, chasing, nagging, sweetening the deal only builds more friction, fatigue, and frustration. It doesn't make them actually want to buy. Now, all of this is actually only treating the symptom, not the problem. Because here's the thing, the real reason that most experts struggle isn't because they lack talent, credibility, or results. It's because we keep overcompensating. We overinform, we overexplain, we shout louder than the rest. So we end up nagging, dragging, and discounting our way into their wallets. And all of it is completely broken. Why? Because it's based on a fundamental flawed belief that buying happens because you convince or persuade them. Newsflash, it doesn't. If you want people to move faster without hesitation and actually sell themselves, here's the secret. It's not about pushing harder, pressuring for the sale, or convincing them to buy. It's about accelerating the decision process. So they actually convince themselves, where it feels like the decision is their decision. They're in full control, no pressure or force. And the decision feels so logical, so easy, they feel stupid not to say yes. And it's the difference between trying to get a couch potato to want to run a marathon, no intent, no commitment, and you're pushing them every step of the way, and someone who's already training hard, building stamina, signed up for 2 marathons in the next 6 months. They're fully committed. They're motivated. They're ready to go. So when you do this right, your prospects aren't being sold. They're selling themselves. I call this mirror decision making, and it works by mirroring how decisions are naturally made so prospects do the selling for you. Now, put simply, when you understand the natural triggers that lead to a decision, you don't have to convince, argue, or chase. You create the conditions for them to mentally check off every box that makes saying yes feel obvious. Think of it like lining up dominoes across a table. Each domino represents this tiny nudge in your prospect's mind, a realization, a moment of clarity. You don't push that last one. You carefully set up each and every single piece. Then your prospect nudges the first domino, click. The second one falls, click. The third, and before they even realize it, the whole chain has tumbled perfectly in place, and the yes writes itself. Now, the best part, they did it all themselves. You didn't have to chase, pitch, or argue. You just set the stage and you let the system do the work. That is the magic of mirror decision making. So let's break down the system and how it actually works step by step, because if you leave this thinking it's just a concept that you understand, but you're going to forget about it tomorrow. So I want to make this real for you. Now, the first domino is intent. Before any single person can buy, they actually need to want to. And I don't mean casually curious. I mean ready to move, want this. Now, most experts are skipping this. They blast ads, they pumped out content, they hope the right people stumble into their funnel, and spoiler alert, they don't. But that's kind of like trying to sell ice to someone in the middle of a blizzard. They might look at it, but they're not buying it. And the reason why is because people can't buy what they already aren't consciously aware they need and want. I call it the diary effect. Think of it like you're reading someone's journal. Inside is their hidden desires, what they're trying to do to make it real, all their frustrations. If you know what's written in that diary, you know their intent. So they have to mentally record, track, and feel that desire of having a solution before they will ever move. So if you ignore intent, they're going to scroll past you. They're going to bookmark your stuff, but they'll eventually forget you exist. So instead of trying to manufacture or create intent from scratch, you capture it. You target the person who's already in motion. So this is how my client, who was spending over $10,000 a month on ads, running weekly webinars, and seeing less than 20% conversion rates, was taught to scale. But instead, we shifted her strategy. We found who her highest intent leads were, targeted their very specific desires and needs, drove them to a simple 20-minute webinar, and in just 90 days, her programs were booked out. less effort, more conversions, because we knew how to target them when they were already ready to act. And it gave them the opportunity to say yes quickly. So in marketing, messaging, or sales conversation, it's about speaking to the person who's already in motion. So instead of speaking to the idea, let's say losing weight and feeling confident in your body, you address the motion. Hey, I see you hitting the gym consistently, following a macro diet, so you can finally build the strength and feel confident in your body. But the scale hasn't moved in weeks and you're tired of making more cuts. See, you're speaking to their intent, what they want, what they're trying, what's happening. You're bringing people in who are ready to buy without ever having to push. And they start mentally checking off the boxes of, yes, that's me. Yes, that's not working. Oh, snap. This is what I've been missing all along. You don't chase or convince them. They want that change. They've already wanted it all along. Okay. Now, the second domino is decision mapping. See, people don't buy ideas, they buy the clarity that you lead them to. So, if you set up a process so they come to that realization on their own before you ever open your mouth, you're going to stop selling and start leading. I call this a decision map. And it's kind of the shortest pathway to a yes, where your prospects are mentally walking themselves through their desire, their realization, and the solution. So you're not pushing, you're not guiding, you're not nudging, you're just kind of setting up the dominoes and letting them fall. So I want to show you what this looks like inside of a sales conversation. Your prospect comes into you super excited, right? Let's say you've done everything right up until this point. They've been following you, they're nodding along, they understand that you've got the intent set, and they're sitting there and they're like, okay, what's next? They're asking themselves, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've been looking for. But then you start to ask them to make a decision. They freeze, right? They stall. They say, well, I just kind of need to think about it. I call this the silent gap, because it's not because your offer isn't good. It's because they didn't have a mapped path to their decision. So I want to show you how to fix it. Instead of dropping one big pitch at the end of a piece of content or at the end of a webinar or inside of a sales call, you're guiding them through micro decisions along the way. Now, each step they take is a tiny yes. And it sounds something like this on a sales call. So you've been posting consistently, you've invested in ads, which tells me that attention isn't the issue. What happens after people first engage with you? And then they say,
well, honestly, that's kind of where things drop off. I don't really have a system that keeps them moving forward.
See, in just that single way that we guided that, they've named their own gap. So you can now connect the dots and say, yeah, it's not about getting more eyeballs. It's about having a system that turns those eyeballs into buyers. And that's the piece that you've been missing and exactly what I help you fix. See what just happened? You didn't push. You didn't convince. They literally led themselves to the realization. That is decision mapping. It's closing the silent gap before it ever stalls the sale. And the same thing happens in marketing. Your content is preempting the realization before they even have to realize that you're the missing piece they needed. So instead of putting out random tips or generic motivation, you're dropping posts that make them stop mid-scroll and think, that's me. That's exactly where I'm struggling. Oh, damn, this is the gap I couldn't see. That way, by the time they hit your CTA, you're not persuading them. They're already convinced. All you did was lay the path down, and that is decision mapping at work. And we see it in every touch point we create with our buyer. Now, the third domino is neural associations, where you stop being an option and you start being the only option. So your brain is basically like a filing cabinet. It doesn't want to waste energy, so it takes these shortcuts. So when you hear something like search engine, you think Google. When you hear overnight or 2-day shipping, you think Amazon. When you hear tissues, you think Kleenex. Every brain is wired to shortcut decisions by linking one thing to another. That's neural association at work. And in sales, here's what happens. Now, right now, you might be on a call, your prospect is nodding along, connecting the dots, and then they ask, so how do you actually solve this? And if you say something like, well, I'm a nutrition coach and I help people eat better and exercise consistently, their brain instantly files you in the just another diet coach drawer. So that spark is gone. Suddenly, they're comparing you to every $97 meal plan they've already tried. It's like expecting a Michelin star meal and getting frozen pizza, because at that moment, their brain cannot differentiate you from every other option out there. And that means you lost the sale. But if instead you said, I use my metabolic reset method, it's built to repair your metabolism and your body naturally burns fat without strict dieting or hours of cardio. That's why my clients lose the weight and keep it off even after they stop working with me. Now, their brain can't file you with anyone else. You own that association, and you've just become the only option that makes sense. So instead of saying, should I work with you or someone else, their brain fast tracks it to, if I want this result, there's only one person who does it, and it's you. So whether it's in your sales conversations, in your content, or your marketing, you're always dropping those associations. You're not just another coach, consultant, or expert. You're the person that created this method that delivers this specific result. So here's a quick exercise that you can try right now. I want you to write down the number one outcome that your clients are chasing right now. Next to it, I want you to write the name of your method. And I want you to ask yourself, if someone were to think of this outcome, would their brain immediately link it to me and only me? If the answer is no, you've just found your next area of opportunity, the gap, right? Because until your method equals their desired outcome, you're always going to be filed in the just another option drawer. So when you do this right, your prospects stop comparing. They stop hesitating. They stop shopping around for the right expert because their brain already decided, if I want this, I go to you. You become the only option. That is the power of innovative methodology. So I want to recap real quick the three parts of mirror decision making we've gone through. You capture intent so that you're only talking to people who are already in motion. We're not trying to talk to people who aren't ready, who are unqualified, who are unready, who don't even want to solve their problem. Next, you map the decisions so that they sell themselves before you even make an offer, right? You create a decision map that goes through the natural decision process people are going through and checks off the boxes. And then you lock in neural associations so their brain is filing you as the only option. Now, when you put these together, everything changes. You stop competing, you stop chasing, you stop being compared to every other coach, consultant, expert, or brand on the block. Instead, your prospects are the one leaning in saying, finally, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. This is the power behind mirror decision making. And it's just one single piece of the bigger system and methodology that we've built. Because the truth is, getting an easy yes isn't about getting better at pitching. It's about building your entire ecosystem and business around the psychology of how people naturally buy. And that's exactly what the easy yes method does. It takes everything you've just seen and it weaves it into a complete repeatable ecosystem that starts with turning your expertise into an innovative IP asset that works for you. So buyers binge their way to a yes and clients rave about you long after they've worked with you. And there's three key pieces to it. And it starts with winning the market. See, your best clients, the ones who are ready to buy right now, they're not looking for another take on the same thing. They're searching for a breakthrough that makes them say, holy crap, where has this been? It's exactly what I've been waiting for. So while most businesses and brands are fighting for attention, smart experts are making their competition irrelevant. So using our innovation gap methodology, we help you uncover and articulate what makes your work truly innovative by actually pinpointing the gaps in the market that only you can fill. That means we're creating your IP, your asset that allows to outlive you, and you no longer become one option, you become the only option. And you become the one that people run to because you're no longer chasing, convincing, you create demand where high-end clients are actually seeking you out, instantly seeing your value, and they invest without any hesitation. So this step alone has not only allowed my clients to 5 to 10x their prices, have clients lining up to work with them, created that type of demand, but also created opportunities they never thought possible. Things like standing on a TEDx stage, writing a book, creating opportunities where they're on PR and TV and being able to share their methodology in a way that truly transforms the entire industry. Okay. Now the next step is turning your innovative method, your IP asset, into a bingeable decision system. So I want you to think of it like how Netflix gets you to sit down, binge watch an entire series without taking any breaks, and you become a diehard fan. Now imagine that your buyers are doing the same thing, but with your IP asset. So they're binging their way through your sales system, and every single episode they become obsessed. They're selling themselves on you every single step of the way. We call this a bingeable decision system, and it works because we use mirror decision making. So people are binging their way through the process, coming out so eager and ready to work with you that they're begging to get on your calendar and join your program. No more chasing, no more months of back and forth, no more feeding your audience so much content that your brain hurts, just a simple system that gets your leads to sell themselves. Now, the third and final piece is about actually delivering on the promise you make, because sustainable businesses understand that marketing alone is not enough. You have to be able to deliver on the promise and create raving fans. This is why we've built what we call our happy client machine, the systematic approach to delivering world-class results to your clients at scale without being fully reliant on you. So you can have clients who are singing your praises and talking to anyone that they meet while also being able to actually enjoy your life because you've created the bingeable asset that brings people in, but then also turned your IP into programming and systematic ways of delivering on that IP in a way that doesn't take over your life. This is the power behind the Easy Yes method because you're building systems, strategies, and innovation that take your industry and the world by storm. So you become not only the most talked about, but also the most bought from expert. And here's the deal. If you're an action taker, you've listened to this and you're like, holy crap, where has this been all my life? The Easy Yes method can be applied and seen inside of your business. I just want you to come and check it out. I want you to come apply for a growth optimization call. You and I are going to sit down. We're going to review your current approach for getting consistent clients. I'm going to personally show you how you can actually position your work so people are chasing you down. So you create an IP asset that does the selling for you. And I'm going to help you see how the Easy Yes method can turn your expertise into a bingeable IP asset that gets your best clients selling themselves on working with you. So if you want to apply for that call, head on over to easyesleads.com/call. Now, if you're new around here or you just want to dip your toes in first, I've got something for you too. I call it the Netflix effect. It's our limited time on-demand series that shows you the exact steps behind how you turn your method into a movement and your marketing into a self-selling system. So you can go binge those episodes right now at thenetflixeffect.com. But listen, I am hoping you're walking away from this episode thinking completely differently about marketing, sales, systems, and having a process that actually mirrors decision making rather than arbitrarily throwing stuff out there. So, if this episode got you fired up, it would absolutely mean the world to me if you just took 1 minute to rate, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend who you know could value from this because I want to help other experts turn their method into a movement that sells themselves. But until next time, here's to keeping it real.